Hey, thanks for watching Chief and Grandstand. Today, we're going to can venison, deer meat. Today, we're actually going to make a black pepper deer steak canner. Well, it calls for deer roast straps or whatever, so we've got our back strap. We've already washed it. It's cleaned. We killed it last year. It's thawed out. They want it cut in strips across the grain, maybe about 1/4 inch thick, and we'll see what happens next. One thing I wanted to mention is you always want to cut your meat. It doesn't matter if it's deer, beef, pork, chicken, anything. You want to cut across the grain. The grain is, if I can get it to focus here, you can see these strands running this way. So on your back strap and a lot of meat, you kind of have to pull it apart sometimes, find which way the direction is, and you want to cut across it. Okay, on this back strap, it's going to be fine to cut this way, but on your other meats, if you can't tell, find out. You can see how some of it's running this way. Always cut across the grain on any meat that you wanted to cut, and that's going to make it a lot more tender when you do decide to eat it. Another thing you want to do is, as you're cutting, let's say you do some pieces, it's your 1/4, 3/8 thick. A key thing is to make sure they're all uniform as close as you can. You don't want some that's really, really thin and then some that's going to be a lot thicker. Try to have some sort of consistency. That way when you cook it and they're all about the same thickness or size, they're going to cook consistently all together, rather than you've got some of them that are overdone and you got some of them that are underdone because they're too big or too thick. Just something to keep in mind. This is what we're making today. Hopefully you can pause it, blow it up or whatever, but that's the recipe we're doing. That's what it's going to look like. I do want to add that once you do this, depending on the fat that we have in this venison today, there's going to be, after it's done, there's going to be some white stuff up here. That's the fat that's going to rise to the top and settle. Leave that in there, so when you reheat it, that fat's what's going to keep it moist, and it's not going to let it dry out. But make sure, even though it might not be as pretty as this, there is going to be some fat up there. So, if you have any questions, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for supporting Chief and Grandstand. This is a great example. This is the beef broth that we did on a couple of previous videos. But when I'm talking about the white stuff that's on top, that's going to be your fat. You need fat. So, don't let that scare you or anything. That's going to be the stuff that you're also going to need as we're making this recipe while we're mixing. And this is our homemade beef broth, and that's the fat that was in the beef. So make sure to keep that. Don't pour it off. Okay, we're going to start mixing the recipe that I just showed you. We are going to go ahead and strain the beef broth. Not to get rid of the fat, we're going to try to get that in there. But the little, I call it tidbits, the little pieces of stuff that might not have been strained out when we were making the broth, if we don't strain it, that's fine. Everything in there is cooked, everything's edible, everything's safe. But just for Nana and my daughter and stuff, to make it look a little bit better, we're going to go ahead and strain that again. And then we'll start mixing. Okay, we've got everything done. Got the food assembled. Got the jars in the canner. Nana V's canning it right now. We're gonna do that, let them cool down. We'll open one. You might have to check out Man's Adventures. They're real good at cooking good stuff and good at taste testing at the end of the day. So we might just give it to them, let them be the taste tester. Okay, thanks again for watching Chief and Grandstand and supporting us. This is the end product of the peppered beef steak, but again, we'll use deer meat for this. Looks good. You can see a little bit of fat. This is still bubbling. They have all sealed. So one thing that we might recommend is adjusting the recipe is maybe add another half a cup of meat, whichever one you're using, to this, because it does seem a little bit like you can see back here and some here. But maybe add another half a cup of meat according to the recipe. Again, follow the instructions on the canner. We'll have a taste testing here tomorrow, and we'll have a little short on that if you want to follow along. Again, if you know a veteran that needs some help, please look in on them. Please help their spouses. Please look after their children. Thanks for watching. God bless.